In Chapter 6 here, we're going to begin a discussion of polynomials. Now, there's a lot more to what a polynomial is, but a lot of it gets left until Algebra 2 or college algebra. The idea is basically that we're not going to have any fractions. All we're going to have is straight down, like so if I say something like this, we're just going to have idle knows and exponents, basically. There's not going to be any special things like square roots in there. And so the first thing we need to do when we're working with these, so here's a great example here. So we just have x's and exponents. That's all we've got. There's nothing else tricky, no denominators, nothing of that kind. Now, the first thing we have to do is get some of our terms straight. So polynomial refers to many terms. It's got, remember what we said with terms before, they're separated by pluses or minus. They're the groups. So I've got a group here, a group there, a group there, a group there. So I've got several groups. Well, poly means many. So the generic term is polynomial, just meaning the many different groups that are being joined together. The rest of it is pretty intuitive. Monomial just means singular. So you have a single one of those groups. Some coefficient out front and some x to some power. So if you look here, this is an entire row filled with monomials. It's just one group. Now a binomial means you have two groups. A trinomial means that you have three. And again, polynomial is generic for many. So after a trinomial, we'll just call it a polynomial. But it's a little misleading because they're all polynomials. But so again, we just have special names for monomial, binomial, and trinomial. Now the degree is the highest exponent. Now there are some tricks to this that are really not super practical. So a couple clarifications here. So this, if you just have a constant, it doesn't have any exponents involved. It would be called degree 0. And I really don't like this because here is what we will see in almost all of college algebra. We would have x to the second here. Well, the degree is just usually the highest exponent, so it's a degree of 2. The degree of the polynomial is 2. Now it is technically true that you can, if you have a big long group like this, if you can see that, it's 8m(n) to the 5th. The degree is the sum of all the exponents. So the m has a 1, the n has a 5. So this would have a degree of 6. So the degree of the polynomial is the largest one from any of the groups. Now again, this is not very common. I have never needed this information after this introduction. In college algebra, I've never needed it, anything like that in the calculus. So typically we look at something like this one. It's just the highest exponent. But technically it is the sum of any of those groups. So this would be m to the third, n to the second. That would be a degree of 5. So let's do some of these here and hopefully it'll make more sense. So first of all, let's just go through monomial, binomial, trinomial. So this is a monomial. Here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different groups because I'm separated by the minus signs. Now we don't have a special name for 4 groups, so we're just going to call that a polynomial. Now here I have 1, 2, 3 groups. That has the special name 3 groups, tri. So that's a trinomial. Here we have a binomial. I'm just not writing out the whole thing. So 2 groups, so the binomial. And then I have 1 large group there, so that's a monomial. So everything's being multiplied. It's the addition and subtraction that separate the groups. Now let's go through and do the degrees. If you have a constant, it's a degree of 0. Now the highest exponent here is 3. So the degree of this is 3. Now this is tricky where there's several variables in one group. We have to add them up. This is 2, this is 3. So 2x squared plus y, it's like it's got a 1 there, so that's 3. This group has 2. This would be 4 here. 3 for there and 1 for the x. So this has a polynomial of degree 4. We take the largest group, the largest degree. So here these are both 2, so that's the highest we get. Now here we have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the degree of that one big group is degree 10. Okay, now we're going to be combining like terms. And It doesn't change. So the name of this group is the y squared team. It's going to be exactly the same we saw before, but the name has to be identical, including the exponents. So these can be combined because they're the y squared team, but they would not be able to be combined if there was just a y. It has to be the identical name. So I've got 40 people on the y squared team. Now these names of the variables are identical. That is exactly the same word. That is pq to the third, so that can be combined. Now I would want to fix the two negatives in a row and make that a positive. So how many people are on the pq to the third team? I've got 16 plus 7. I've got 23 on the pq to the third. Okay, let's try again here. These are an identical team. So it's 21 on the q to the second team. Now, so I guess here's a good time. Okay, one of the things that'll confuse students is that sometimes we turn this into like q to the fourth, and sometimes we leave it the same. So let me show you why. If we're adding or subtracting, then the exponents will stay the same. This is 5x to the second. Add, subtract, same. Multiply, divide, different. So that's how I'm going to remember it. So if I were multiplying these, that's a different thing. That is going to change the name of the team. This would become 6x to the fourth, where you would add them. So it's easy to get these confused, but if we're adding or subtracting, the team name stays the same. If we're multiplying or dividing, the exponent, the name of that team will change. So we won't have them change in this section. I just wanted to give you a reminder. Add, subtract, same. Multiply, divide, different. So we're just adding and subtracting. I'm going to turn this into a positive, and the name of those teams is identical. So this is the same team. So now I've got 8 plus 5. I've got 13mn to the third. All right, we've got more terms, so we just have to be careful what matches. These match. There's nothing to match with him, so there's no like term for him. It's like there's a 1 in front of that. So I've got 1 on the a squared team. Take away 6, I'd have minus 5 on the a squared team. I don't know what that was. Let me do that again. Minus 5 on the a squared team plus 7b squared. He doesn't have anyone to join with. Now here, that's all the name of the team, u squared v. There's no one else on that team, and there's no one else on either of these. And so this would actually stay the same. There's nothing that can combine. We would just be stuck with this. That's a v there. Okay, we've got y squareds that can join. So I've got 8 of them minus 3 of them. I've got 5 on the y squared team. And there's no one for those. 3 on the z squared don't have anyone to partner with, so they will just come along for the ride. And then once again, nobody there is a match. That's the team name, so I would just write that again. It can't be combined. Okay, now we're going to add together two large polynomials. So they're two trinomials in this case. So the parts that can go together are the y squareds. Those are identical. So the y's are close, but it's not the same word. So I've got 11 on the y squareds. This is the same team. So minus 2y and minus 8y, I've got minus 10y. I've got 9 and minus 7. I've got plus 2. So you can always put the numbers together. Okay, same team. X squared, it has to be identical. There's 1 over there. I've got 8x squared. Minus 4 and minus 7. Got minus 11x. I've got 8. Now, this is something that would cause students trouble for quite some time. Subtraction means that everything that follows is going to change sign. Let me see if they did that. Yeah. Everything that follows this negative is going to change sign. So it's like it's distributing a negative 1 through there. You could think he's distributing that negative sign. So he went there and now made this negative 2w squared. He went there and a negative, made that a positive. Oh, they even did what I do here. So they've got, now they're combining the same teams. These get, well, they did a couple steps there. I got 9 on the w squared minus 2, so I'd get 7 on w squared. And then there's no one else on this minus 7w. But then they put the numbers together. Yeah, so he changed signs, so I'm putting together 5 and 4. Now let me just work one here. I know it's going to be hard to follow me when I'm following theirs. So this is what this would become. That minus will go to every one that follows. And I'd get this. That's the same team. I've got 8 of them on the x squared team minus 7. I've got 1 guy on the x squared team. There's nobody else on the x team, and they cannot go together. This is adding and subtracting, so they cannot be put together. And then I've got minus 19. So you owe me 19, but you paid back 14. You're still in the whole 5. All right, they're trying to get tricky with us here. If I'm subtracting this from p squared plus q squared, this is like less than. It's going to require us to go the other way around. So from is just like less than. And so we would have this. I've got a minus here that's going to go to everyone that follows. So he's going to change everybody's sign. The minus and the minus made a plus. Okay, now we're ready to combine like terms. I've got this guy and this guy are a match. Well, positive and negative, they're gone. Those are opposites. There are 0 people left on the p squared team. And then this team and this team go together. That's going to make 3q squared. And he doesn't have anyone to go with. He just goes there. All right, they're trying to do the subtract from on us again. So that means the other way around. Now I'm going to show this parenthesis because I want to remember that that minus is not just a squared. It's everything that follows. So I get a squared plus b squared, changing every single sign. Okay, let's combine the teams. These are opposites of each other, so they're going to be gone. There's nobody left on the a squared team. I've got b squared here and 6b squared. So 1 and 6, there are 7 on the b squared team. And then he doesn't have anyone to combine with. He'll just come down. Okay, nothing too different about this. Just make sure we've got our, oh, I see what they're doing. So let's put the u squareds together. Yeah, let me just do it. So I got 1 on the u squareds, 3 on the u squared. I have 4 on the u squareds. Now here's why they did this. The UV team is a name. All of that makes a single word. So those are the same team. I've got minus 6 of them, plus 2 of them. I have minus 4 on the UV team. Does that make sense? That's a whole name. And then this v squared team, there's nobody else. So he's just going to come down. Okay, we're adding these again, but we have some complicated names. But first of all, those guys will go together. I've got 5 on the x squared. Now the xy team, that's a match. I've got minus 4 of them there. I have minus 1 of them there. I have minus 5 on the xy. And then 5y squared doesn't have anyone to match up with. All right, they're trying to just get real tricky on us. Let me see how they did doing this. Yeah, let me do this. Okay, so a to the third minus a squared b. Now this group is being subtracted, just this one group. So that will change the signs of just that group. Okay, now all the signs are finished because I changed the signs to that middle group. Now the team names have to be identical. Now look at this one. A squared b is not the same as ab squared. It's close, very similar, but it's not exactly the same. So this one matches up with that one. And one's a minus and one's a plus. That's the same word up. So one minus 1 plus 1, those are going to go. Those are going to eliminate. Now, okay, now here's minus ab squared and plus ab squared. That's a match. So those are going to go. And all I'm left with is a to the third, b to the third. Okay, I don't know what happened when I copied these. I'm not sure why I've got all these squigglies here, but let's try one more. So x to the third minus x squared y, or pause the video if you want to try this on your own. Now this middle group is going to be change signs because of the subtraction. Okay, now let's go through and see matches. This and this are the same team. That's exactly the same word. This one in here is not the same. So one was minus and one was plus. They're gone. This is exactly the same word with that. One's a minus, one's a plus. They're gone. And I'm left with x to the third minus y to the third. Alright, so there's an introduction to polynomials. Just be really careful with combining. Those team names have to be identical. They have to have exactly the same number of each of the letters or they're not the same team.